So Unity Hub is essentially a little mini application that lets you manage different installs. And so if you're an experienced developer, you might have an old version and a new version because you're dealing with older projects and things. Okay? For us, we're just going to have one install. So we don't really need the Unity Hub. But when you launch Unity, it brings you to something like this. And this will have all of your previous projects. Okay? And through this class, you're going to have 2 projects and up to 3 projects when you get to working on your final project. You might have even more later on. But we're going to start with a new project. So go ahead and click New. We're going to be doing a 3D project. So make sure 3D is selected. We don't need the extras because that's just extra things for it to install that we don't need right now. And we're going to call this Class Learning. Because you're going to have a different project. So every day in class, we're going to keep picking up with the same project. It's going to be the same scene, same project. Okay. But then when you're doing your homework, it's going to be a different project. So you have to like replicate what we're doing. Okay. Yes. You need to validate your license. It'll probably ask you to. So, okay. And then you can select where you want the files to be saved. If you have an external hard drive and you want to do it there because you want to save space, you can do that on external hard drive. Just click the 3 dots and select where it is. I'm putting mine in my documents folder in the 588 projects folder. So 3 things: 3D, a name, location, and then hit create. So this is your main Unity window, and it has several other windows. Okay. So we're going to start at the top left and just kind of work around the window. Up here in the top left, you have tools. Okay. These tools are things that are going to help you move around the scene and do different things. The hand tool lets you grab and move the scene. The arrow tool lets you grab and move an object. The rotate tool lets you obviously rotate and spin an object. And the scale tool helps you to scale the size and change the size of any object in there. Okay. When we actually have objects on the scene, we'll go through and do those. The other tools we're not really going to get to today, so we're not going to worry about those. Okay. Right below that is the hierarchy. Okay. That tells you what's in the scene. So the hierarchy is a list, a manifest of everything that you see in the scene window. Okay, so you'll see right now there's a light and there is a camera. So over here in this hierarchy list, you see I have a scene, and inside the scene I have a camera and a light. Okay, so everything that drops over will appear there. So if you wanted to delete something, you would go here, Control, click, and then you can delete it there. Right? So this list just tells you what's in your scene. Okay. Now that's different than your project files. Okay. So when you have a project, that's going to house everything that might be in a scene. Okay. So everything needs to be hosted in there. So if you've used Adobe Premiere, and when you're in Premiere, it's like putting something in your bin. This is the equivalent of a bin. Okay. You put it into your project. Everything has to be imported into the project. Once it's imported in the project, then it can be added to a scene. Okay? All files imported to a project added to a scene. Now, the main window here has 3 different tabs. So we have the game, and then you may or may not have asset store. I'll show you how to get to that in a second. This is a preview of what it looks like from the main camera if you click on that tab, and you'll learn how to play that in a second. We'll preview that. But where we want to be working is scene. So if you find yourself like trying to do something that I've shown, or you're trying to edit something, you can't click on things, you're probably in the wrong tab. It happens all the time. Everybody does it. I still do it. Don't worry about it. Oh, sorry, wrong scene. You need to be over in the scene tab, not the game tab. Okay. Then over here to the right, is your asset inspector. So whatever I've clicked on, you'll notice that the inspector is going to change. So when I click on the camera, it popped up this preview here, and it changed all these settings to what I can control. So I can control and make edits to whatever I have selected, and those are specific to whatever item is selected. Okay, we'll do a lot of work in the asset inspector. Okay. Yes. So up here we go to File. Get in the habit of hitting Save Project. Save Project. It is not. Okay. If you just hit Command S, it will actually save your scene, but you might be working with multiple scenes at different times. So get in the habit of saving the whole project. Okay. So I hit Command S, and then on a regular basis, I also save project. Okay. So, yeah. Question? Okay. All right, so we have a scene. If we were to, right now, there's no floor, there's no ground. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to create a ground in 3D space. We call that a terrain. Okay, even if it's inside, it's still called a terrain. Okay, so we're gonna create a terrain. So you're gonna go up here to Game Object, 3D Object, Terrain. Okay, and it just put a checker floor for you. Whenever you see those checkers, it's telling you there's something here, but it has no texture. Okay, it doesn't actually know what it is. I mean, it's just a visual representation of what's there, even though like technically there's nothing to see. Okay, there's nothing to reflect. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out. So I'm just going to do a 2-finger zoom or a scroll zoom, and you can see this is a really big terrain. So if I were to get my hand, you can see I can move the thing. I'm not moving the terrain. What I'm doing is I'm moving my perspective. Essentially, if you think of it, there's a camera that's viewing the scene that I'm looking at, and I'm moving my perspective. I can also keep the hand and hit Option, the Option key, or I don't know what it is on the PC. One of those keys down there. Alt key, thank you. And then you can turn and change your perspective this way, right? Okay. This will make a lot more sense when we have more items in the experience. And you'll notice, look at what is called the jack, the perspective jack over there on the right of the scene. You see how it's turning when I move when I'm moving it here, okay? And if you want to get back to a place, you can always go click on the jack, and it'll actually take you to lots of different perspectives. Okay, and you may feel lost, and that's okay because we don't have anything on our piece here. Okay, so now I'm going to come back here to where I can see my terrain, I can see my light and my camera. Okay, so let's go ahead and apply a texture to the terrain. So it's going to look. So today for class, we're going to build a desert scene. What happened? You get lost in the thing? So you get lost in the jack, hit the center of the jack, okay? And that's gonna put the horizon level at the center. And then if you hold Option with your hand, you can like move until you can find out if you flip or you're over it, right? And so I think if you hit Command 1, Command 2, Command 3. Oh, no, it's not working. It's not that. Okay. Okay, so on my terrain, I'm going to get my arrow tool, the move tool, just click on it, and you'll see it should highlight in orange or yellow. And then over on the right in my inspector, almost every object has this transform part, which has your position on the X, Y, and Z axis, okay, as well as the rotation of it and the scale. So when you bring it in, it's always 1, 1, 1, but you can scale and change that to double it by making it a 2. Okay. So your X axis, okay, is your left to right on your screen, okay? Your y-axis is your height off of the floor. So if the terrain was set to 0, which it is, the terrain set to 0, anything that's on top of it will need to be 0 or higher, right? So 1, 2, 3, be higher. It's also, you should know that it's in meters, okay? You can't change it. It's consistent. It will be in meters, okay? So you should just know a person is 1.8 meters on average, okay? So what'd you say? A 6-foot person, yeah, right. So 1.8 meters is like what we just, that's just kind of like the standard, what we just say for people, okay? So right below that, and this is what we're gonna start to change, is our terrain. Okay. There's a paint brush, and we can hit and select it. It might say raise or lower terrain by yours by default, I think. I'm going to change it to paint texture. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually apply a texture to it. Okay. So the problem is right now we don't have any textures in our project. So you remember, you got to have things in the project to be able to apply them. So assuming we'd have had it, all I'd have to do here is add a new add a layer, and then I would select desert, sand, whatever, but there's none there, okay? So we need to get them, yes. So I've selected the terrain. I select under terrain here, I select my brush, and then under the brush is a drop-down menu. So now we need to learn about the asset store. The asset store is a wonderful tool that makes Unity really valuable and really valuable for this class. And it's probably one of the main reasons I teach it in this class is because it's fairly easy to get up and running and moving with it. Okay. So in the store, we can search for things. Let me see if I can make some more space. Let's do that. There we go. Okay. So in my store, I am going to search for desert. And you'll see there is a lot of desert assets. Most importantly here is to come down to the right and check the free assets. Okay. Yeah. You can spend hundreds of dollars on models and things, or you can go and select a free one. Is this for like professionals? Correct. Yes, you could use it for whatever you want to do. I mean, any project, when you're using it in the store, you're licensing it to use for whatever project you want. Okay. So, oh, you might not have had the asset tab. I'm sorry. If you didn't see the asset tab, go to Window. Wait, how do you get to the, sorry, it is under Window, Asset Store. There it is, Command 9 or Window Asset Store. Okay, and that pops up the tab. Then I search for desert, and then you'll see there's lots of them, but you see this one that says desert rock material. Let's just click on that one. Okay, and it's really basic. It's just like, it's almost like a picture that we're going to just spread across our terrain. Okay, so you see something that says, does it say purchase or download? What does it say? Download. Okay, so click download. And wait, yes.
Is this like premiering the way that like everything will go into like a folder by itself and then you'll import it in, and so it has to be in the same path every time?
Yeah. So when we download it, it puts it in an assets folder that's kind of there for all projects. Once it's imported, it comes into the project. The more things we import, the bigger and bigger and bigger our project file gets. So we have like 2 gig project files, right? And that's just because we keep adding assets to them. Okay. So it's different than Premiere. Like if you moved it, all these things actually move with it because it's like gets put into the same file. Okay. So the first thing it does is it's downloading, and wow, this downloaded a whole lot faster at home. And then I guess everybody's going. Okay.
So, it just like crashed, but I'm back inside. But like, how do we save? Like actually.
So Command S will save the scene, but on occasion you should go up here and do Save Project. File, Save Project. Okay. I have not seen that. One of the things you can do is you can actually open it in a browser. So if you just Google search Unity Asset Store, log in with the same account, and you'll be able to access it and download it. Okay. Yes, if it's already downloaded, you can go ahead and click import, and when it pops up that screen, wait for me after it says import. Are all of y'all waiting to download, or mine's just a slow one? All right, while that downloads, let's be more efficient with our time. While that downloads, I want you to go back to your scene tab. And we're going to learn how to change the terrain. Okay. So over here on the right, where it says paint texture, if you change that to raise and lower terrain. And then you're going to get a brush. And what we're going to do is create our terrain and basically build mountains. Okay. And so click one of these that looks more natural. I'm doing brush 4. Doesn't really matter. Okay. And what you're going to do is come over, right? And then now I'm going to just, I just clicked and held it and moved. Here, let me change the perspective so you can see it and what makes a little more sense. Okay. All right. 2 fingers. I have my hand tool, and then I can. She said, what is the orange edge? The orange edge means it's selected here in the hierarchy. So if I unclick right there, it goes away. Okay. So play with this for a second, right? What you're going to do is click on the terrain with the arrow, and then your paintbrush, and then you can change to a different one. All right, and if you could just hit little bumps, if you hold it down, they get deeper. So it's kind of fun, right? And then there's kind of other tools and things you can use. And then if I got the star tool, it'd make it look more like a star. Yeah, so you can make mountains all day long, right? Like you could just go through and have fun. How we want to use them is, in this case, we're going to use it to define the play area so that the player can't literally just walk off the screen, okay? Walk off the terrain. Okay. So what I tend to do is just kind of, oops, wrong tool. Get my brush, take one, and then just, I kind of make this on the outside. Okay, and so I'm just kind of making this, play area so nobody can walk away. As long as you got some space to walk, it doesn't really matter. You could do the whole terrain if you wanted, but this is really scaled out. Okay. Yeah. Once we add the character, it'll immediately click. Yes. So you want to undo it over there on the with the arrows. Same thing, same tool. Hang on, let me. If you hold. So left clicks to raise, hold shift, and left click to lower. So hold shift down, and it brings it back down. Okay. Right. Yeah, so the first one, like you're gonna do it, and you're like, wow, that was cool, but this is really hard. And you're probably gonna throw it away, and like you're gonna do it again, right? Like you gotta kind of play with this. This is not like an instant thing to figure out, okay? So while you've been doing that, let's go see if our asset store, mine has already downloaded. So I'm back on the asset store tab, and I'm going to click import. Can everybody look at my screen, please? I click import, and this is very important. Sometimes people just ignore these dialog buttons. You have to tell it what you want to import. By default, they're all checked, which until you know what you're doing, you probably want to leave them all checked. Okay, and so go ahead and click import, but it's a two-step. You click import from the asset store, and then you actually import it into your project. So once this is done, you will see that down at the bottom in the project tab. So now there's a folder called assets that says free, and then there's desert, and there's a bunch of materials and textures and things there, okay? So that's what we needed. While we're here at the asset store, let's go ahead and search for another one so we can get that one downloading, in case that one's gonna take a while. And that one, I wanna get the right one. I want you to search first person all-in-one. First all-in-one. And it's this first one up here at the left. This is going to be our player, our controller. Okay, and we want to get this in pretty quickly so that we'll have scale and understand like what it looks like. Okay, so click on that one. You'll click download, and then once it's done downloading, I want you to go through the import process again. So everybody watch me, and I'm going to drop this in. Yes, you can go ahead and import it, even if it warns you. Install. Yeah. yes. You can't click download? Is it PC users only?
I think the step would just shows which version you wanted. I don't know. So I just like just download it.
Okay. All right. So here's what we'll do. I want to walk through putting this in, and then I will try to figure out how. I'll just take somebody's machine and I'll figure out how we update yours, and then I'll walk everybody through who fixed that. Okay. So you click download, then you click import, and go ahead and import all of them. And now we're going to go back to our scene. And down here in the project window, we can search for things. So instead of having to like go through and find it in the folders, so if we just type first person, and whenever you see these box looking things, the blue box looking things, those are called prefab. They're previously fabricated. Everything you need is already there, okay? So that, you can click and drag that to your scene. Now look how small he looks compared to that, okay? So if you select it and click F, no, it's not working. Huh. We'll just double click on it. You'll see your camera is now on that scene, okay? But he's at the 0, okay? So if you were, you would look like an ant because the eyes are right at the level of the terrain, okay? Remember we said 1.8, so make sure you have it clicked on. So I'm clicking on it here in the hierarchy, and then I'm going to change my Y to 1.8. And now he raised up a little bit. Okay. All right. We need to add a texture, and then we can preview and see what you've made. Okay. So let's add a texture to our terrain. So go ahead and select the terrain. Go back to our drop down over here on the left and go to paint texture. Then we're going to add a layer. So it says terrain layers. We're going to add a layer that says add layer. Oh, I'm sorry. I said wrong. Create. We haven't made any layers yet. We need to create a layer first. Create a layer. There we go. To create a layer, it pops up this window, and if you select this one that looks like sand, it's called Desert Rock. Double click on that, and now it has applied the sand to there. Okay. Now our light is totally out of place, but let's just preview it and see what happens and see if this actually works. Okay. Sorry, I can't see this play button here that I can't hit because of the zoom. See the play button at the top center? If you click play, it's going to switch to your game tab. And now, as I use my mouse, I can look around. And look, I created this desert. Okay? And I can use my arrows to walk around. Okay. Correct. You got to get to that person. So let me show this, and then let me show you how to do the skybox, because that's part of your assignment. And then we'll. Oh yeah, how do you get out of play? Okay. Go up, like use your mouse and go up to the play button, and you gotta hit the play. Don't hit pause, because pause actually keeps the play engine running, and it's actually using your resources. So you're trying to work and while it's trying to run the resources. So just unclick the play button and it should switch you back to the scene. Didn't work? Yeah. The ones with the magic bar escape didn't work. Huh? Mine doesn't. It's really annoying. Huh? You didn't have a mouse? Oh yeah, you're right. Hit escape to get the mouse, and then you can go click the play button. Okay. All right. Okay, everybody look right here, please. Sometimes you hit something and you don't know what happened to your window, okay? If you want to get back to a home safe thing, go up here to Window, Layouts, Default, and now put all your windows back to like I have them. Okay. So now we have a terrain and we have a camera. Okay. But if we look at our scene, the horizon probably doesn't really match the desert, right? Like that doesn't, that like bright blue. That's just the default. It's called a skybox. Okay. Essentially what you see outside of the horizon. Okay. So we're gonna make our own sky. We're gonna load in a new skybox. So go back to your asset store tab, and I want you to search skybox, and you can check free again. And we want this nice amber sun looking one. Mine's faded out because I've already bought it or downloaded it. But click on that one, and then you can download and import. Okay. So again, watch me, and I'll show you how to do this, and then you can do it in a second. It's been imported. Now I need to open my lighting settings, okay? So it's under Window, Rendering, Lighting Settings, and it pops up a new window, a new tab. Okay. And I grab that tab and put it beside my inspector because I don't want that extra window just floating out there. So I just drug it right beside the inspector tab. So the inspector tab's there. Now we have the lighting tab. And you'll see up here the first field, it says Skybox Material, default Skybox. So that's what it's set to now. We're going to change that. So anytime you want to change settings over here in one of these, you just hit this little circle dot thing. It's a little circle with a dot in the middle. You click that and it's going to pop up these things. And so I just want you to search for sky. And you'll see default is the one that's selected. That's not the one we want. We want this one that looks more amber. Double click on it. And then now when I go back to my scene, you'll have to play it to see it. Ooh. Okay, so as of right now, we've created the terrain, we raised and lowered it, and then we added a texture. Then we added our first person player. Then we added a skybox, and now we have one more thing to do, and then I'll go around and help everybody, and we can start building that, okay? Yeah? First person player was you went to the asset store, search for first person all in one, import that, and then find it in the project and drag it to your scene. All right. Yes. Oh, your first person keeps falling. Okay. All right. So he's probably below your terrain. Set his X to 1.8. Sorry, the Y. Set the Y to 1.8. Okay, I'll come look at it in a second. All right, everybody watch. We're going to do another asset store thing. I'm going to go search for rocks because I want rocks in my desert scene. Okay. So, I don't like any of these. You guys know how to use the asset store. Let's use something else. I want you to go to free3d. It's free3d.com. And for the record, not everything here is free. Okay. It's a little messy. Okay. And let's just search for desert. And there is a rock. Okay. So was that the first thing that came up for y'all when I searched desert was the low poly rock? All right, I want you to click on that one. And you'll see that it's free and I can click download. This is a really poorly done site because watch this. It puts this weird thing. You got to scroll back up. Okay. And then in this case, there's only one option, but there might be Maya files. There could be lots of like AutoCAD files or whatever. There could be different options. We're going to choose the one that has OBJ or FBX. And we can use either of those. We got to make sure we got OBJ or FBX. Object, or I don't know what FBX stands for, but it's a file extension. Now this time it's downloaded into my downloads folder. It's not part of Unity yet. Okay, but we can go get these from other places like TurboSquid and Free3D. There's all these other places where you can buy or download free assets. Okay, so this one has downloaded. Show in Finder, and I'm going to unzip it. And now there's a folder called Rock, and if you look in there, there's a bunch of stuff in there. So some of these things we don't need, okay? But I'm going to drag it over into my assets folder so you can see it, okay? So I'll minimize this. So let's just start with the FBX. I'm going to drag the FBX over right into my project folder, and you'll see it come up. And while we're here, let's go ahead and do the OBJ, rock OBJ. Yeah. Drag that. They actually look the same. They're just different outputs of it. So I want to just show you the differences. So I went back to my scene and I double clicked on my first person camera so that I'd be somewhere near here, right? Okay. Double click on the first person camera and it jumps me to there. Then now I'm going to drag the rock into the scene. Okay. Yes, sir.
Is 3D object, that's the same as 2D?
Probably, yeah. All right. So now in my scene, and it's on the level with the terrain right now, is this weird looking thing. Okay. So let's deal with that first. So first thing, I'm gonna get my arrow tool. And you're gonna get, whenever you have an object, you have these handles. And you can use the vertical handle, this green one, to raise it off of the y-axis. If I want to move it closer to me on the z-axis or the x-axis, I can grab these, okay? So you can also come in and type it in the inspector, okay? So right now it's raised up. But this particular one, because it was free and the way they did it, they just packaged everything together. They put a camera, a light, a plane, and the rock in there. We don't need those things. We already got a camera and thing. But this is what happens sometimes when you use free assets. So I wanted to show you an example of when it's not so fun. All right. So here I have, on my left side, I have rock. I want you to control click or right click on it. And you're going to go to unpack prefab. All right. And now that will let me delete the camera. So I'll hit control click here and I can delete it. And then I'm going to delete the lamp. And delete the plane. So now I'm just left with what is a cube. Okay. And this is where it's going to get fun. Okay, trust me. Select the rock or the cube. You can do the cube, actually do the cube. And set the scale to 4 on all of them. Okay, and so now you have a big rock, or a little bit bigger rock. Let's just go ahead and set it to, we'll set it to 10 and make it a little more visible. Okay, so now we've made it a big rock. Now, if you want to make sure it's sitting on the ground, you might put it to 0, but actually, because of the way it was, the way this person made it, it's not exactly on a 0. So here's what I would do. I would grab it until it touches, right? So see how I'm just moving? I have my arrow tool and I can, so now it's under it. I just pull it until it sits on there. So now if I hit play, can we find the rock? Ooh, we got a rock. All right, it's small, isn't it? Yeah, it's small, and actually if we were to look really closely, the texture doesn't fit our world, okay? So I'm gonna grab my scale tool, and if you grab the middle of it, you can just drag it out and make it super big. Okay. And then I'm going to move it a little bit away from my camera so it's not right on it. Okay. So, but that texture is not great, right? Like if we were to look at it in here, it doesn't look like it fits. Okay, so let's fix that. When you click on it, over here on your inspector on the right, there's a material. It has the default material. And for now, since we only have one of these, I could go ahead and select desert rock. And now it looks more like it's a little orange, but it's okay for now. That's what we're trying to do. Okay. All right.
Can you do that again?
Sure. So select it. Then over here on the inspector, under materials, I click the little circle here. Okay. And then I selected one of these. So if we'd have had a lot of textures, like we can go to the asset store and get lots of different rock textures. We could bring those in and select a different kind of rock. Okay, and you just apply it. Okay. So now that I have this rock, this is where it's fun. I can click on the rock, I can duplicate it. So now there's a second rock. Okay. And now I can adjust my scale independently. So now I'm going to make an oblong rock, right? And then move it a little bit. And then let's duplicate it again. And we'll put one over here, but now we'll make this one a little less. All right. So I'm control clicking, duplicate, and it puts it right on top of it. Then I get my arrow tool and then I move it somewhere else. Okay. And this time I'm going to make this one huge. Let's just go tall. All right. So now when I play it, now I have depth. I have something in my foreground, got something in my midground, and then my skybox is the far background. Okay. So you've watched me do it, okay? Now you need to go and like play and like learn and figure this out.